Hello and welcome to another tidbit of time with truth. Just this past weekend, I had the wonderful blessing of celebrating a 50th class reunion with some friends, some of which I've not seen for more than 50 years. In the weeks and months leading up to that reunion, I admittedly had a few anxieties as to my appearance there. You see, back in 1973, as I approached my senior year of high school with those friends, I made a decision to leave them to attend another school that would afford me the opportunity to graduate early and get a jump on my college education. Now, in many ways, that was a decision that I've experienced a lot of regret over in the years that have passed since making that decision. But while experiencing a measure of regret, there's also the tremendous blessing that by making that decision, I met my life partner, Brenda, and that's been the biggest blessing of my life down here anyway. Looking back, in spite of some regret, I now understand that God did have a huge purpose in it. But back to that reunion for just a moment. Those anxieties that I experienced in advance of it were due to that decision to transfer to that other school. A big part of me had realized that what I missed in not being able to walk across the platform with those classmates upon graduation left a hole in my heart and in my relationship with them. There was a smaller part of me that was apprehensive of possible feelings of hurt or feelings of betrayal as a result of my decision to leave them. But here's what I discovered, however. There are some relationships, some of which are familial and some as friends, that will stand the test of time. And such was the case with this reunion. Not only was I welcomed as if that decision had never happened, but it was as if our friendships picked up right where they had left, even 40 or 50 years ago. And I'm so grateful to each of those classmates extending grace and mercy to allow me to participate in their celebration of their graduation 50 years ago this month. But here's why I'm posting this as a tidbit. What I've just described to you about the welcoming of me as a part of that graduating class is even more applicable to what happens in the family of God. No matter how long or how far, or even the conflict that possibly separates us from that family, the head of that family, Jesus, is always waiting to welcome us back around the family table. In real life and even in my spiritual life, there have been times when I've willingly made myself the prodigal son. You might remember the story of the prodigal that Jesus shared in Luke 15, where he tells of a young man who asked for his share of his father's estate prior to his father's dying. And in the eyes of many in that culture, that was an inexcusable, even unforgivable offense. So when that father complied with the wishes of his son left the provision of the father and the father's house and journeyed to a far land where he squandered all that he had been given in riotous living. At a point in time, however, that young son came to the realization of all that he'd given up. And he makes the decision to rise up and return to his father, even if it meant that he would no longer be considered a son, but even as a meager slave. But to his surprise, his father was waiting for him. He had been expecting to see that prodigal son come down that dusty road that led to their home each and every day since he'd been gone. And one day that father's prayers were answered. And in love and forgiveness, the father welcomed his son home with the full privileges of a son who is still a part of the family. That's how it's supposed to be in the family of God. Many of us have strayed away from the provision of our Father and his family, but our Heavenly Father is always ready to welcome us back into the fold. We may try to leave him, but he will never give up on us, and I, for one, am so grateful for that. And the same is true of my classmates in the class of 1974. I'm so blessed for their work welcoming me as if I'd never left. I humbly and greatly thank each of you who might be a tidbitter, who are listening to this, who are part of that class, for your grace, and even more, I'm so grateful to know that God just like them, will never let go of me. Never stop welcoming me as part of his family, just as if I'd never left. Thank you for joining me today, and I'll join you soon for another tidbit. May God bless you.